Hi everyone and welcome back. The Kshatriya project is finally done. It has been a while since the last video, and that's because the amount of work needed for this kit was just immense. But let's get started and let me show you some of the stuff that I did during this time. So most of the time spent was fixing the imperfections. A lot of the resin parts were misaligned and have big flashes, so they needed to be smoothed out as much as possible. For the binders, you can see there are two different tones of green, and that's because I managed to get the plastic version of the binders instead of using the stock resin ones. And the benefits are twofold. Firstly, I saved a lot of time not having to clean up the resin ones. As you can see, some of the details are quite blurry. Just look at how shiny the plastic parts are, and that means there's no need to sand them. Secondly, plastic is lighter than resin, so it just means the kit has to bear less of the weight of 4 binders on the shoulders, and therefore less prone to breakage. But before painting, I needed to fill in this gap first. This was originally for putting a screw in to secure the joint, but I'd rather not have exposed screws on the main armor parts. So for this, UV resin is very handy, as it's already quite thick as a liquid, so it's good for filling spaces. Just put the resin under some UV light for a minute and then proceed to sanding. Painting compared to the preparations was a lot simpler and quicker. And you can see that for brighter colors such as yellow and red, I tend to spray the parts white before doing the colors. And for darker colors like frame colors, I usually do a black base first. Doing that just gives the colors more contrast. Here I'm using a circle cutter to mask the circular areas. And then this is just a standard masking job. I like masking big kits because the parts are so big, and therefore it's easier to mask with precision. So here I wanted to paint the metal parts, and for that you need some metal primer. It works basically like a glue that sticks to the metal, because normal paints have quite poor adhesion on metal. You can spray grey primer on top if you want to change the color, but I just wanted to keep the gold color, and I'm spraying some warmer tone gold to change the hue of the gold. After painting, it's just the usual panel line and water slide decals. A lot of people have asked what I use for cleanup, and this is called panel line cleaner. It is available on my store if you're interested, link in the description. For the decals, I was testing out the Evil Monster cartograph line of super clear decals. And yes, they're super clear and readable. My only complaint is they only have dark grey color and no black ones. So unfortunately they're not dark enough for some of the green colors in this project. So the grey ones are best suited for white kits. But of course they also have white text version as well, which works great. In here I'm doing some hand painting for details. I usually prefer masking, but those small parts are quite annoying to mask. And there are 6 of them on each funnel, and totally there are 24 funnels. So hand painting is just the most logical way. As you might have seen from the last video, I used an IKEA shelf to make the base. The downside is the back of the block is exposed, so a simple fix is to just glue a sheet of pla plate to close it off. After the final matte coat is ready for assembly. So let's take this time to review the project. As a project, this has been quite interesting. Yes, it is basically a G-system kit, and it had that typical bad casting that you expect. But having the modifications by core cast, such as the metal beams and metal binder arms, meant that you get a lot more stability than you would from G-system. but on the other hand you do lose out on the plethora of metal parts that you would come from the G-System version as well. I would place the difficulty of this kit to maybe like a 7 out of 10, not in terms of the assembly but due to the quality of the resin parts and just the difficulty in masking some of the parts, as there aren't a lot of part separations. So things like the sleeves, I had to mask the black off to paint the white emblems, etc. In terms of the painting, I decided to go for more of a Zaku 2 light green, rather than a richer green that you see in the anime. I think it worked out quite well, and all the 5 shades of light greens work together really nicely too. Most of the green paints are from Shockwave. They're a brand from China, so it's unlikely you'll find them in the West. I didn't do like a crazy amount of color separations on this kit because I think everything becomes so overwhelming for G-System kits when you have all those metal parts and details, and then you slap like 50 different colors onto the kit. Secondly, quite frankly, the project was already taking a long time and I was just feeling a bit of a burnout. And lastly, the kit would have benefited from some larger water slide decals in my opinion, but generic decals for anything larger than 1/100 scale basically don't exist. So the kit can seem a bit empty in terms of decals in some places. Speaking of size, this kit is about 55 centimeters to the top of the binders and about 45 centimeters to the top of the head fin. So it is bigger than most PG kits out there. So the shelf presence is huge. But that's about it. Hope you enjoyed the review, and if you liked the video, please like, comment and share it, and I will see you in the next one.